continuing with our order of operations practice. And again, it's always a good practice when you have multi-step problems to just on the right of your page, just write your PEMDAS, just as a little reminder. Eventually some of this will become second nature to you, but that's after years and years and years and years of practice. And I know for many of you this is some of your first experiences with multi-step problems, so I've really got to work on my M handwriting. My M's always look like H's. So we've got P for parentheses, E for exponents, M for multiplication, D for division, A for addition, S for subtraction. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And remember, with multiplication and division, the reason they're on the same line is because if we are faced with a choice between a multiplication or a division operation, we're going to work from left to right. Same with addition and subtraction. So we could, in theory, have a subtraction problem on the left that we would work before we work an addition problem that's further to the right. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. So our first problem is going to be 13 plus 19 in parentheses divided by 20 minus 4, also in parentheses. So, referring back to my PEMDAS, P for parentheses, well, I've got two sets of parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and work from left to right, because that's always a good practice. So, 13 plus 19, and if you're going to write out your computations, especially if you're using some larger numbers, do that off to the side. Leave the space underneath the problem, because we really need to get in the habit of making one change, one operation, and then pulling everything else down. And I'm going to show you a good check to make sure that you've done that correctly. So if you're going to do your computations, just kind of do them off the side. That way they're out of the way here. Leave this space directly underneath your problem open. Alright, 9 plus 3 is 2. Carry my 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. And so I get 32. Now at this point, a lot of you are going to go ahead and do the 20 minus 6, the 20 minus 4 and get 16 right here, and that's okay. That's not wrong. But for our purposes, I'm just going to pull down everything, because what I want you to see is, as we complete one operation, this is our first step. This is step 1. And then when we complete that second operation, the 20 times the 4 to give us 16, that becomes our second operation. And then our third and final operation is when we complete this 32 minus 16, 32 divided by 16, which is going to give us 2. Now here's what I want you to see. You see how this gets smaller as we go? And we end up at our final answer. And so a good check is we make our Superman Chevron. See how that looks like Superman's shield, his chevron? But again, this first step is right here. This is our first step, first operation. We did the addition. This level is our second step, our second operation. We did the subtraction. And then our final answer shows our third operation. So since we have 1, 2, 3 operations, we should have 1, 2, 3 levels. So just a good check and a good way to keep our math organized. And right now it may seem a little bit simple, but especially when you get into some heavy multi-step algebra, this becomes necessary to set up your problems this way. Otherwise you're just going to get lost. Okay, let's go on to number 2. So number 2, we have 14 have parentheses. So, referring back to PEMDAS, we're going to do that first. So 14 minus 8 gives us 6. Now once we complete all the operations inside of parentheses, then we're good to let those parentheses go away. We don't have to keep the parentheses. The only reason we have those parentheses is to tell us, hey, do me first. I'm first. Me first. Me first. That's what this subtraction operation is saying. I gotta go first. I gotta go first. I gotta go first. That's why I'm in parentheses. But once we complete that operation, then those parentheses can go away. So I'm left with 6 times 9 plus 6. Now, I have noticed that a lot of my students, once they do what's in these parentheses, they're immediately jumping and then completing what's outside the parentheses. And that's going to give you an error. That's going to give you a mistake. Because if we add 9 plus 6 and we put 15 and then we do 6 times 15, that's not going to give us the correct answer. So again, we complete one operation and then rewrite the expression. So then we're left with 6 times 9 plus 6. We look over to PEMDAS. Multiplication comes before addition, so we are going to multiply 6 by 9 and get 54 plus 6 will give us 60. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, couldn't resist. Superman's my favorite superhero. Alright, let's do one more. Okay, number 3. We are going to do 6 times 2 times 6 minus 4 in parentheses. Alright, so we're going to complete our parentheses first. 6 minus 4 gives me 2. And 6 times 2 times 2 is what I end up with for my next step, my next set of operations. I have 2 multiplication problems, so I'm going to work left to right. So 6 times 2 gives me 12. And then my final step, 12 times 2 gives me 24. Dun, 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 bum, ba-da. Sorry. Actually, that's not true. I'm not sorry at all.